Aloha, my name is Tiki C. Today, let's do a design review of my SAS Solar Space Garden, a base blueprint that I recently posted to the workshop. I designed the initial version of this and spawned it on Spanj's server, where my friends and I used it as our operating base. Now that it's been play-tested, I brought it back into Creative, made some modifications, and posted it to the workshop. Making a guest appearance today is the Leviathan by Spanj. You can find a link to his blueprint below. Thank you, Spanj, for creating the Scavenger Alliance, all of the backstory, the ships that you made, the color palette, all of it. You've inspired others to create more SAS ships, and it was fun to play with them last season on your server. So we're currently in a creative session of Reforged Eden version 1.8 build 34. This base is level 7, and it was designed for Reforged Eden. You can spawn it in vanilla if you remove the spotlight blocks and add a T2 extender and 2 tier 3 extenders. The CPU is high in vanilla due to the 392 container extensions, and the capacity of each controller vanilla will only be 320k versus 640. Back in Reforged Eden, when you spawn this base, the CPU usage is low. There are no CPU extenders to start with. There are 2 custom groups for interior and exterior lights, no custom signals. If we take a look at the device list, the starting components are pretty basic, but it is designed to be upgradable. The resources required are minimal, aside from an initial iron investment, which should be reasonable after clearing a handful of POIs. The top of the base has a shutter door entrance. You can remove this shutter door and the first elevator block and put a repair bay here. The repair console can go on the side where this deco console is located. The garden floor has 76 grow plots, which can be designed to support hydroponics bays or the traditional 9-plot method. Here we have a spare room. If you put a gravity generator right here, the gravitational field will extend throughout the entire walkable portion of the base, so you only really need one. Going down another level, we have a service dome. It's surrounded by an octagonal docking floor. The entrance has O2 stations by every door. These deco blocks here are placeholders for the medical tables. You can upgrade the clone chamber to a biomedical chamber and have one at each entrance for emergencies. This is a dedicated processing floor designed to host constructors, deconstructors, and furnaces, 4 of each. Deconstructors go on the ceiling. The intent is to do work remotely since it gets a little hot down here. Next we have an observation deck, which has our fridges and food processor. And underneath we have room for CPU extenders. And here's the core. Looking outside and going down, we have 4 oxygen modules. It comes with a few O2 tanks, enough to oxygenate the entire base for a time. I recommend that you expand on these as soon as possible before you start gardening. Next we have 4 container controllers. Each one has 640k, and there are some containers tucked away in the center there. Then we have the spine with all of these solar panels and capacitors. For this, take a look at the branches here. This is how I intended to put the solar panels on. When you spawn it, just go ahead and adjust the solar panel placement for maximum output, if you will. And finally, we have our deep space network antenna to maintain communication with your interstellar probes. There are wireless antenna throughout the station, so you always have a signal, and spotlights for doing maintenance on spacecraft. Be advised there are no defenses, so surround this base with separate defense facilities. For example, spawn little defense stations like this on all 3 dimensions at different points. So you have 6 of them surrounding the base. Here is some examples of upgrades. So on this copy over here, I put the repair bay right there. And I have some example hydroponics bays in here using just one hydroponics unit each. And here's the one gravity generator and a repair station that I added later, just to keep costs down with the initial spawn. And in here, these deco blocks, I put some example medical tables right here just to give you some ideas. And here we have a fully decked out area with constructors, deconstructors, and furnaces. And this observation deck, we didn't make any modifications. I put some CPU blocks in here just as examples. And outside, I filled up the oxygen tanks. And I realigned and adjusted the solar panels, and I added on capacitors on here, just to give you an idea of how it can be expanded. Lastly, I do want to say that I copied the color palette from the Leviathan and applied it to this base, just to use the Scavengers Alliance standard. To do that, you just go up to the ship with the color and texture and color tool, right click, go to configure, click on this square, hold down the left shift, and click on the bottom right square, copy, escape twice to get out of there, and go over to the object that you want to paste the color palette to. Right click on that, configure, first square, left shift, bottom square, paste, and then you have the color palette from the object that you just copied it from. Just an FYI on that. All right, thank you for watching. I appreciate your time, and have a great day.